I paid $299 for the very first broken PS5 Pro on eBay. Let's open it up and see what's wrong with it and if we can fix it. The eBay seller that I bought this from said that there is no power, that the HDMI port is loose, and that they didn't do any further testing. They said that the warranty sticker had already been removed when they got it, so who knows what we're gonna find in this PS5 Pro. Looks like that is what we got. Let's get it unpackaged and plugged in. Is that bug guts? I really hope that's not bug guts. And no, I don't think any evidence of bugs so far. So the HDMI port definitely looks like it's messed up. But what would cause it to not power on? That's the part that I'm worried about. Somebody's obviously taken it apart before though, so they could have messed something up. Okay, here we go. Will it power on? Nothing. No power at all. Okay, let's get this thing apart and see what's going on. The PS5 Pro was released on November 7, 2024. I bought this PS5 Pro in March of 2025. I bought it on eBay for $299 and the current retail price is $699. So it might be a great deal, or maybe I just ripped myself off. Now, I'm not sure why the listing said that the warranty sticker had been removed, because this is the warranty sticker and it has not been removed before. That's interesting and a little strange. To be totally honest, this isn't actually the first broken PS5 Pro I've seen. I noticed a number of them for sale that were banned on eBay, but I never buy those since there's no way to unban them. So this is the first PS5 Pro that I saw on eBay that I could actually possibly fix. All right. What do we have here? Nothing so far. Nothing looks suspicious at all. So first thing we're gonna do is see if there's power coming into the console. If the power supply is bad, then there wouldn't be any power coming in. And we have exactly 0 volts. So most likely the power supply is bad. Okay, let's get down to it and replace it and see if that's all it takes to fix this one. Other than the HDMI port, we'll have to deal with that too. And once we remove the clamp and the spacer, we should be able to get the power supply out. That is stuck down there really good. I don't want to bend it too much. I can hear it letting go. Slowly. There we go. Okay. Let's see how the liquid metal looks on this. See if there's a dry spot. And it looks like there's not. So for anybody that doesn't know, there are grooves on the heatsink for the PS5 Pro. And that seems to really help the liquid metal to stay right where it should stay. With the board out, we will be able to fix this HDMI port, but let's get to the power supply first. We need to see if we can get this thing to turn on. And now we can lift up this whole piece along with the heatsink. That all looks good. Heatsink is nice and clean. Now we're down to the power supply. And that we just lift up and out. So I've never taken one of these apart before on the PlayStation 5 Pro. I'm gonna take this apart and check out the inside. And I do have to say, if you have a faulty power supply, just replace it. Don't take it apart. This is just for entertainment purposes only, to see what's going on the inside. These can hold a charge for a long period of time, even after they were plugged in, and can shock you quite a bit. So that's why I always recommend to just not mess with them. And this is the power supply on the inside. First thing I'm gonna do is check the fuse. Fuse is good. That's one of the easiest fixes for these. I'm just kind of looking around to see if there's anything else obvious that could be causing a problem. And I don't see anything. These chips right here are some of the control chips. Same with this one up here. And I don't see anything obvious going on there. There are some people who are really good at diagnosing these. I'm not one of them. I usually do just the basic checks, and I don't see anything wrong with the basic checks. So I'm actually just gonna replace this as a unit and see if that'll get this thing working. Now, before we replace the power supply, we should do one test. I have the motherboard unplugged. Let's see if it's putting out 12 volts with the motherboard not in the system. And we have 12 volts. Okay, so next we need to check the motherboard and see if there's something going on there. Now it is possible the power supply is still bad. Sometimes they are bad just under load, like when the console turns on, then they will not work, but that's pretty unlikely. So let's check out this motherboard. So down here is where the power supply plugs into the board. So the first thing we're gonna do is just see if we have a short on the main power connectors for the board. And we do. That is 2 ohms. So that's a problem. Basically, the power and ground pins are shorted together. Now, I've already checked some of this, and I've already found a couple shorts. So on these capacitors, they're shorted. These capacitors are also shorted. And this is also shorted up here. And when we turn the console over, we also have a short right here. One of 2 things is likely happening. One is one of these MOSFETs or capacitors is shorted, or it could be one of these guys up here. The other side of the board has all of the power MOSFETs for the APU. So it could be any of those things. It also could be a shorted APU. If that's shorted, then this console is not something that I'm gonna be able to fix. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start testing around here. I'm actually gonna take off this coil and see if that makes the shorts go away. That will tell us whether it is over here or whether it is over here. And actually, before I do that, let's inject some voltage into this thing and see if that shows any hot spots. That'll tell us real quick if one of these capacitors is shorted. Okay, now I'm gonna put power to the board. Watch this area right here. See if you can see what I see. See that right there? Starts warming up. Just like that. Let's flip the board over and see if we can get it even brighter on the other side. And here we go. Injecting some voltage on the power pin. Yep, there we go. We got a hot spot right here. So I think what I'm gonna do is remove this MOSFET, see if that short goes away. And then if so, then we'll just replace it. Now I'm gonna be using a hot air soldering station to remove this chip. This gets hot enough to melt the solder. So I'll heat it up with this and then just use my tweezers to pull it off of the board. Now it is possible that some of the components around this are shorted, like it could be the capacitors or any of these other little components. It's just more likely to be this chip. So that's why I'm just removing the chip, because I'm going for the most likely problem first. And then if the chip doesn't end up being the problem, then we'll sort it out from there. The temperature on my hot air is 1100, and airspeed I think is right in the middle, about a 3. Should be getting close. Oh, there we go. We got it moving. There we go. And with that MOSFET removed, let's see if we still have a short. We do not. That's what a normal reading looks like. Okay, so we should just be able to replace this MOSFET and we should be good to go. Unfortunately, you can't just go out and buy those. That's probably like a $2, maybe a $5 part, but Sony doesn't make those available to anyone to buy. Since PlayStation 5 Pros are so new, there's not a lot of parts floating around yet for them from third parties. So I actually have to go get a known working good PlayStation 5 Pro to steal the part off of so we can put it on this and see if we can get it working. If manufacturers actually cared about making their devices repairable, I could just log onto their website, buy the part I need, and then get to fixing. But until they're forced to do that, I'm afraid they're probably not going to. Let's get this replaced and see if that's all it takes to fix it. Okay, that chip is replaced. Let's see if our short is still gone. Come on. All right, looking good. Let's check these capacitors. Good. Good. Let's check this one over here. Okay, so one of the things about these is this is a low impedance circuit. So it's gonna sound like it has a short if you go just by the sound, but if we look at one side, we've got 13 ohms. The other side, we've got 1.9 ohms. So that actually is a normal reading. So I think maybe this is fixed. Let's put it back together and find out. Oh, and I don't want you to think I forgot the HDMI port. I actually bent this metal back to almost perfect. This still probably should be replaced, but I think it might actually work as is. Rather than replacing it in this video, you've seen me do that a whole bunch on this channel. I'm gonna put this back together and see if it'll work just like it is. I also did replace this thermal putty that goes on top of these. This is very important. That helps keep all of these cool and helps prevent them from burning out like this one did. Hopefully we won't have any more problems with that, but honestly, it seems like these MOSFETs on PlayStation 5 just, I don't know, maybe they're just not as strong as they should be. I'm not really sure, but we're doing the best we can to keep them cool. Now first I want to redistribute this liquid metal to make sure it gets to where it needs to be. It likes to kind of hang out on the side of the chip over there, or the side of the heatsink. And then over here, it likes to hang out on the sides of the chip. We want it as much as we can get in the middle. So I'm just using this syringe. This comes with liquid metal when you buy it, at least usually. We want to make sure there's not a bunch up in the foam. Okay, looking good. Now, let's get this board back in, get everything else back in, start this thing up and see if we fix it. Okay, all back together. Let's see if it'll power on, and then if it'll show up on the screen. We have power. Black screen. Come on. Okay, it's restarting. I'm super happy we have power though. That's great news. We have a display. Let's make sure it gets set up. Repairing. So we have now fixed the very first PlayStation 5 Pro console that I found on eBay, and the great thing is I only paid $299 for it. Now the part for fixing this would only cost about $5 or so if it was available. Sony chooses to not make it available, so for most people, this would just get thrown in the trash. That's why right to repair is so important. About a year ago, I also bought the very first broken PS5 Slim. I'll put a link for that video up on your screen now so you can come hang out with me over there and see what was wrong with that and if I could fix it. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope you have a good one.